to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Well, welcome to The Crazy Life, everybody. Special thanks again to Enno for our awesome intro song, which you've just had the wonderful experience of listening to. My name is Jen, of course, as always. I will be your host for the evening. And with me, as always, is Bryan. Hey, Bryan.
Hi.
Welcome to any new listeners, and welcome back to all of our regular listeners. Just as always, you know, I appreciate every single one of you guys, and I love hearing from you and all that good jazz. So, Bryan, how has your week been?
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, good or bad interesting?
Both?
That's fair.
Saturday went out with some people and celebrated my birthday.
Woohoo!
Made some bad alcohol choices. Ended up really drunk.
Yeah.
Luckily not sick drunk, but just, you know, a mess. If you want to hear a recap of that, go listen to Salty Language 217.
We might have even touched on this on Monday.
Maybe. I can't remember, but...
I know. So,
yeah.
You have to excuse us, everybody, if we do repeat ourselves just a touch. Due to all of the festivities, we had to record twice this week.
Yeah, so it kind of...
we wouldn't miss last week.
Yeah, Tony and I were having that problem last night, too, because we couldn't remember what we talked about before, you know, and after kind of a thing. So, yeah, it was... But, you know, so that was fun. That was a good time. You know, as always, as I've mentioned, it's stupid. Don't do it. But it took me...
Sometimes you need a reminder once in a while.
Yeah, you know, what it does, though, is it reminds you how old you are because of the 2-day hangover. You know, when you're in your 20s, you could go out and do that, and the next day somebody could call you at noon and be like, hey, do you want to start drinking now? And you're like, yes. And you could go do it, and no big deal. You know, you'd be a little hungover on Monday or something, but yeah, who cares, you know. Now it's like, man, you go drinking Saturday, it's like Tuesday before you feel better kind of a thing.
Right.
And it's like, oh, you know, so... which, you know, it's just your body reminding you that you should stop being stupid.
Right. And for those of you out there who don't know the science behind alcohol, what it does is it replaces the oxygen in your bloodstream. And when you get to the point where you're passing out because of alcohol, it's the same as when you're holding your breath underwater and you pass out from lack of oxygen.
Yeah. And
so,
that's why I said
that's why you pass out, because it's your body's way of saying, look, idiot, you need to freaking breathe.
Yeah, it's your body's hard reset, basically. You know, it's so yeah. I don't. Every once in a while I do this, and I shouldn't, and I know it, and whatever. But you know, it was still fun. We had a lot of fun on the night, and
yeah.
But I had to go this week. Like last week, I had a doctor's appointment. And I had to go back this week because I got the phone call where they're like, oh, we did blood work, and we need you to come in and discuss some things, which is never good. They never, you know, it's like they never call you in and slap you on the back and go, hey, great job. You know, it's
right.
If they call you back in, usually it's because there's something that's high. You know, some numbers that shouldn't be high are high. And,
right.
You know, I had a few that, like, I had been off cholesterol medicine for a while, so I expected that one to be high, and it was. And
sure.
You know, and the doctor went over, like, I've had issues over the last year with my kidneys, which with like protein and stuff that, you know, being elevated, and that's still there, but it's lower than it was before, but it's still high. Yeah. So, you know, it's keep an eye on it, but not enough to send you to a specialist kind of a thing, you know? And my sugar was high, which, you know, not really a surprise because I don't do a whole lot and I don't eat great, you know, so, you know, there's that. And then on top of it, it was, I also had, both sets of the enzymes in my liver were high. Now, one set can be, and this is, you know, going to seem funnier now, I guess, but one set can be like if you drink a lot or take a lot of like Tylenol, that kind of a thing, it can up that number. And because of my sinuses, I tend to take Tylenol Sinus because I'm not supposed to take a lot of the higher end decongestants because of, you know, blood pressure and such. But so I've been taking that because it works pretty well for me. And it's like, well, maybe I need to stop, you know. And, you know, like I said, the other part can be from drinking. So the doctor asked if I drink a lot, and I was like, not really. I said, you know, occasionally I do, and when I do, sometimes, like this last weekend, it gets out of hand. But normally, I'm a 1 or 2 beer, and I'm good kind of a person. Occasionally, I'll have some whiskey or something. And she's like, well, you should probably steer clear of alcohols. And, you know, she's like, if you're going to drink light beer kind of a thing, you know, more water-based alcohol, basically, you know.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. There's no light beer being drank. I'll just not drink 12 or something in a night generally, because that's really not me anyways. I haven't been that way in a long, you know, like I said, other than an occasional night, I'm really not a heavy drinker of any kind anymore. And, but, you know, either way, that one was just a little high, but the one she's a little more concerned with is the one that can be caused by fatty liver, basically. So,
right.
They have to, you know, I have to come back in like 2 months and have another thing because they have to stay on top of that. Because, you know, I'm on a variety of medicines, so they have to make sure that my liver numbers stay where they should, because you have to be very careful.
Yes.
You know, because, you know, you don't want your liver to not work, you know, so, yeah, whatever. So, you know, nothing horrible, but nothing good in any of that. Like, none of that is good news. That's all like, hey, dum-dum, you know, wake-up call. Like, you know, you need to make changes. Like, you know, so... And I'm sharing this mostly, even though we generally talk mental health on the show. I figured I'd go into this a little bit because it reminds me of, again, when Henno was on with us and we talked about being serviceable, you know. And there's an episode, I can't remember it off the top of my head, of Angela's Awesome Podcast, where he talks about how he had spent money getting his teeth fixed. You know, having dental work he needed to get done, and which is expensive and adds up quickly. And then he needed more afterward. Like, he thought he had it all done and then needed more, which I can sympathize with. I've gone through that myself. But then he realized he hadn't gone for a physical in a while, and he was going to, like, skip it. And then he was like, no, you know what? This is all part of the whole thing. Like, I have to, you know, I have to do this, because if I don't keep myself in a good place, I can't be serviceable to anybody else or yourself, you know. And when I talked with a psychologist before, when I, you know, for one exam I had to go in for, you know, she was asking me about a bunch of my physical stuff, like my knee and the kidney stones and all this. And I was like, what does this have to do with, like, your area of profession, essentially, you know? And she was like, well, she's like, part of the problem is if you have all these other maladies or issues with your body, she's like, mentally you can't heal because you're constantly hurting, you know? She's like, you can't focus on getting your mind right if your knee's always bothering you, or if you have kidney stones, or if you're, you know, and that kind of came back to me too. So, you know, it's like over the last week, we've been trying to eat better, and, you know, the next step is I need to get some exercise into my life, you know, because I lead an extremely sedentary lifestyle. So I need to make some changes. So I just wanted to put that out there for everybody else, that even though, you know, to make sure not just mental, not to just stay on top of your mental health, but, make sure you go to the doctor for this other stuff too, because, you know, you need to try to stay ahead of all of it, if you can, you know.
Exactly. And it's tough because it's very overwhelming because there's a ton of stuff to think about. And, you know, when you have anxiety, it makes it even harder to go to the visits and the doctor's visits and stuff like that. But it is very, very important to be well-rounded and healthy.
Right. And you know, with depression, it makes it difficult too because you get into that why bother mentality. Mm-hmm. And when hills start seeming insurmountable, you get quickly to that meh, you know, like I'm well over the weight I would like to be, you know, to the point that it's going to take a lot of work and time for me to get anywhere near where I would like to be. Aside from like going to have, you know, like one of the stomach bypass type surgeries or something, you know, like if I just change my lifestyle to lose the weight, it's going to take years to get where I would like to. And it's harder as you get older, you know, because, you know, it's just harder to do those things. But it's like I look at like what I was just told and, you know, what the doctor's telling me, you know, like sugar, cholesterol, and the fatty liver, all those three things can be fixed if I lose some weight, basically, or get exercising. Change my lifestyle to where I'm eating the way you're supposed to eat. And I don't want to say dieting because I don't want the negative connotation of the, you know, oh no, you can't have that. Like, cause I'm not a person who can totally say no on something because if I do, it's going to make me want it more. And then it's going to be bad when I do have it, you know, like,
you're going to overindulge.
Yeah. Like I love pizza. Be like, no, you can't have pizza. Be like, okay, well, when I finally do, I'm eating all the pizza. Rather than, you know what, occasionally have a couple of pieces of pizza, have a salad with it, you know, do that kind of a thing. Just change the way I approach it. Make sure I get pizza with vegetables on it, you know, approach it. And I do anyway. I like vegetables on pizza, so, you know, but approach it differently from the mental state because it's easy with what the doctor just told me. Plus, I'm going for a psych evaluation in a week. And I'm going to be going to a neurologist for my headaches before long, you know, well, at some point I have to make the appointment, you know, like all of this going on. Plus I have some other stuff going on. It's just, it's a lot. It feels like a ton on my shoulders. You know, like I told Tony, it doesn't feel like just dipping your toe or diving into the deep end of the pool. It feels like someone's just dropping me in the ocean and saying swim. You know, and going, okay, I can do this, and be like, oh crap, I forgot there's sharks in the ocean, and you know,
exactly.
It's, you know, so
sorry everybody.
But like I said, you know, it feels incredibly overwhelming, and
absolutely.
You know, that's kind of been the thing is it's been tough to not, even though it's only been a couple days, it's just. Even today, you know, the doctor called in a prescription for me for the high sugar, and that made me just, for lack of a better term, I went through a ridiculous shame spiral today. You know, a negative spiral of just, like, what's wrong with you? Why are you, how did you let yourself get this bad? Like, you've never had an issue with this. How did you let yourself go to, you know, and then I did that for a while, and I was like, I have to stop this. This is stupid. This will not help me get any better, you know. So
right, exactly.
I need to stop.
It's only going to be worse.
Yeah. But it didn't stop it. I mean, it still was there, and it's still in the back of my head, but yeah.
The key is, it's always going to be in there. That bully's always going to be in your head.
Yeah.
The key is trying to keep it in its place.
Right.
You know, and try to keep it where it belongs, in the back there, and really try to push the good stuff forward, push the bad stuff back, and just really try to focus on moving forward.
Right. Because
we can't change the past. We can only change the future.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, it's funny. Tony and I talked a little on the New Salty Language about, well, this will go up before that, but we talk on the New Salty Language a little bit about this kind of a thing and how I went to lunch with my mom and we were getting sandwiches, and I got a veggie sandwich instead of getting one with meat on it, just because I wanted something different, honestly. I just didn't really want a bunch of meat on the sandwich, so I'd rather get vegetables this time. And, you know, and even like when you and I went to Mongolian Grill, you know, I didn't put a lot of meat in that bowl. I got more vegetables than, and I usually do. I usually load up on vegetables there. And I was telling Tony about how, like, when I ate the sandwich, though, like, in my head, I ordered it, and when I ate it, and I'm like, oh, that was good. And I was like, but, I could still feel that voice in my head going, why didn't you get meat? Like, there's no, meat's okay. It's protein, and you get lean meat, and, it's like there's that bully in my head going, come on, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it's just so, and I know Heno's kind of talked about it a little bit with sugar, because he loves, like, candy. So, and, so he talked about an Angela's Awesome podcast like that, and Tony even was like, and I didn't know this, like, Tony said there was somewhere he's at, and every time he goes past, they have zingers in the machine. And every time he'd go by, if they have zingers, he'd get them. And he said, the last time he went through, he was like, no, I'm not going to let you win this time, basically. That voice in his head's like, come on,
Zingers are good.
Yeah, so, and they're not, though. That's the thing, is when you get away from it, you realize how awful that stuff really is. And
it tasteless, it coats your tongue with, like, fat. I mean, it's just
right.
nasty.
So I said it's so funny, because up here it's like if you don't eat fast food for a few weeks, even a few weeks, a week, 2 weeks, that first time you're like, oh man, whatever sounds really good, I'm gonna get that, or whatever it is you dig, and you go, you get it, you sit down to eat it, and afterwards you're like, why did I eat that? I feel horrible, and it's like, and you knew that going in. It's no different than the drinking. Like, I know if I drink 12 pints of beer, I'm going to feel horrible the next day,
It's all tied into, it's amazing what the memory it will do to you and what your brain will do to you. Because they're all, everything's tied to emotions in some way.
Yeah.
So, it's the feeling that you would get when you got that treat, or
well, yeah,
your mom always gave you that cookie before you went to bed.
I can name you one thing right now, and it's zebra cakes.
There you go.
Because growing up, my mom used to get zebra cakes, the Little Debbie zebra cakes, and they were there. I could have them essentially when I wanted them. I couldn't eat all of them, because otherwise she'd be like, hey, like, knock it off, but they were there, and there's something about them now that it reminds me, it's that nostalgia of, it's like, this is, home and comfort, basically. I know but it's so funny how many foods aren't that, but you're just like, like me, it was just meat. It wasn't even like it's not like I went to a place where I'm like, I love a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. It's not like I went to a place that has great Philly cheesesteaks and was like, nope, give me the veggie sandwich.
Yeah.
To where my head's like, dude, what are you doing? They got the Philly cheesesteak here. It wasn't even that. It was just my head's going, why didn't you just get bacon on it? Or why did you could have got the turkey. It's just added the vegetables to the turkey sandwich.
It's so funny. I mean, it really is. It's all tied to subliminal messaging. Yeah. It's tied to past experiences and memories. All this stuff that doesn't come naturally up to, some things are very obvious, like the zebra cakes were for you. A lot of it isn't obvious. It's just the fabric of your life, and the longer you've lived, the older that you are, the more ingrained these things are in your head.
Yeah. Like,
for me, a big thing is, at one point, in fact, I know where it comes from. Growing up, my portion sizes were always very closely monitored.
Yeah. So
I had to be very, very careful about what I chose to eat, because I could only get so much, what an appropriate portion size was.
Yeah.
So I had to really be careful and make sure that I chose the right things so that I'd be full. Well, I didn't know what the right things were to make me full and help me stay full.
Right,
longer.
Yeah, you're not like whole grains, protein. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know all
You're
that.
like, this sketty tastes good. It makes me full in my tummy.
Yeah. So now when I sit down to eat, and I've changed my diet, to more eating smaller portions more often.
Right.
I don't have the same issues, but it's still ingrained in my head that, what if I get hungry in a couple hours?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though, is that's okay. Like, when you eat small and eat often, that's okay. You're going to get hungry in 2 hours. Then you have a good snack or another meal or whatever, depending on where you're at in the day, generally. Yeah, but it's a tough mentality, yeah.
Yeah, my head doesn't compute it that way.
Yeah, it's
when
a tough...
When I sit down to eat, or when I go someplace and I order...
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I'll go to order something. This is what I want. Like, I want a salad. In my head, I'm like, salad sounds really good. I really want the salad. Not because it's healthy or anything else. It just sounds good.
Yeah.
Right? But in my head's going, but salad's not going to fill you up all night. Maybe you need to get something else.
Right.
Because, and all of this crap's going through my head.
But then again, a salad's fine if you get some proteins in there. So that's the stuff that keeps you full all night. Yeah, exactly.
And even if it didn't, even if I wanted just a freaking salad with cucumbers, tomatoes, a little bit of cheese, and salad dressing, yes, it's not going to fill me all night. I'm a grown adult. I can still get another snack.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. There's not like some phantom of the fridge that's like,
Right. I'm like, no longer am I controlled by somebody else saying, no, it's not appropriate to eat at this time, or no, you should have eaten more earlier. This is not the eating time.
Right.
None of those rules apply.
Yeah.
To me, I am a grown adult. I make my own decisions.
Yeah.
If I want to have a small salad at dinner and then 2 hours later have another meal, I can do that.
Yeah. But
in my head, because of the way I grew up and because of all of this stuff that I've always had in my life, my head's like, that's not the way we do things. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different type of mind change and stuff. It's really weird.
Right. Well,
the stuff that we have that we carry with us.
Well, it's funny though, because, like portion size is something that as a country we really should learn better.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're horrible. And a lot of that's because, when people go out to eat, they want to feel like they get value for their money. So they want, hey, I'm spending whatever on a meal. I want to feel like I'm getting, whatever. Like, how many times do you hear people go, I ate off it 3 times. That's why, and it's, it shouldn't matter, really. Like, if you go in there, you pay whatever you agreed to pay, and you're full, or you're content. Let's not even say full. Let's say content. Like, you got enough to eat. And you leave, even if you have nothing to take with you, that's good value. You paid, you wouldn't have paid for it that much for it had you not thought it was okay, whatever. But there's a lot of people that it's like, if it doesn't look like they can sit down and eat all the food, they don't think it's a good value, and they don't realize, I mean, really it's not, when you compare to cooking at home. But, you're paying someone else to serve you and feed you, and, well, not literally feed you, but you know what I mean, like cook and everything. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's why I said it's like the portion size part is, it's good and bad because, you have to be careful because you can give somebody a complex essentially by, not allowing them to eat enough, because that can lead to them like sneaking food, and that should never be a thing. You should never, ever feel like you have to sneak food. Yeah. That I know a lot of people do. I'm included in that. I've been through that too. But,
food is a nourishment, and I think Angela's awesome podcast has covered this so much.
Yes.
Is that food serves a purpose.
Yes, it's fuel.
It's fuel. America, we have taken food and we have tied emotion to food.
Yeah.
Food should not make you feel guilty.
No.
Food should not make you feel happy.
Well, I mean,
it's still food.
Yeah.
You can enjoy food and stuff like that.
Right.
You can enjoy the experience.
It shouldn't be used as a reward, is what it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be used as a
reward. It's not a punishment. It's not. Excuse me.
Yeah. That's why every time I hear someone say the words, I sent my kid to bed without dinner, I want to beat the shit out of them. Excuse my language.
Right.
Because that's horrible. You should not do that ever. And I don't care if you don't like my...
It's not a reward.
No. And you have... Okay, you're not to mention, as a parent, your jobs are, feed, clothe, shelter, and help your kids learn in the world. Teaching them that if they do bad, they don't get to eat is not... How is that fair? How is that right?
Yeah.
You know, do you go to bed without dinner if you don't do something right? Like, you screwed up at work. Do you send yourself to bed without dinner? No. Why? Because I'm an adult, and that's a stupid reason. You know, depriving anyone of food is...
Well, it's all these mental games that we play with ourselves in the United States. And I'm sure they do in other countries as well. I'm not trying to isolate as much, but we're going.
The reason you say in the United States is because that's our sample of the market.
Correct.
You know, I mean, we know what, not full on. It's not like we're experts, but you know, we know enough people in the U.S. We've seen enough of it in this country, so it's easier to just
our value system is warped, in which completely affects our eating, as you've mentioned, because we value quantity versus quality more often in this country than anything else.
How many times do you know somebody that'll go to a place where the food's garbage, but you get a lot? Yeah. You know, it's like, yeah, man, it's only like $7 and you get all. It's like, yeah, but it's horrible. Like, yeah, but you get. It's like, I'd rather spend $20 and get a good meal, like where it's cooked well and it's good food, like real food, not like, you know, it's like you can go buy TV dinners for $1, $2, $3, but look at the list of ingredients. You know what I mean? Versus take $6, buy a rotisserie chicken, a couple of bucks to buy a couple things of to buy some vegetables. Even if you buy a bag of frozen vegetables for $1 or $2, for under $10 you can have a meal.
Right.
For multiple people, you know what I mean? And it's like if you buy $2 TV dinners for 3 people, it's $6. For about 10 to 12, you could feed the same people. And now I understand that could be double, but you're eating real food versus, you know.
Right.
Like, if you can, I would rather go. Now, don't get me wrong. If financial restraints dictate you're eating 99-cent microwave meals, hey, we've all been there. Or ramen noodles, you know, we have all probably been there.
But I will say there's a big insurgence of vegetables dropping in prices by going to markets, by seeking them out elsewhere.
Farmers
There's ways
markets
of eating cheap and good.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
It's not as easy, it's not as convenient.
Well, a lot, there it is.
Bad.
Yeah, it's because you actually have to prepare food. But a lot of it, you don't even have to really do much. Like, if you get vegetables, you can steam pretty much a good chunk of vegetables. You know,
and you can stick them in the microwave.
Yeah. Like, you can buy steamers. Or just a steaming basket. It's just a thing that drops in a pot, you know.
But then you have to watch a pot.
Not really, even. I mean, you do at some point, but it's, you know, it's like 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes. But either way, it's not hard. It's just...
Right. And then you have to do the dishes and stuff. So, I mean, there's some extra oomph to it.
Yeah.
That makes frozen dinners even more desirable.
Yeah, because obviously you just throw the thing away when you're done. And
exactly. So it's just, you know, but still, regardless, you know, we kind of jump topic, which it seems like since we're already half an hour into it, I think this is just our topic for the day.
Well, that's fine. We can switch to the other if you want to. I mean, we could just, you know, right where we're at is fine. We just switch orders. Either way, it doesn't, you know.
Yeah, I like where we're going with this, and I think we need to stick on this. And
well, we had mentioned before when we did the body issues thing. Like, this fits right into that, you know, and because a lot of times, you know, how you look at food and how you look at your body can tie together. You know what I mean? It's like I said with me, you know, I go on the medicine for the high sugar. Now, here's something funny for you. When I was put on on cholesterol medicine because of my high cholesterol, I did not go through the same shame spiral as when put on a medicine for high sugar. Isn't that something? Now, I think part of it's because I know that science is showing more and more that cholesterol can come from hereditary stuff as well as whatever. But still, there's an element of it to, and I'm not saying, because, you know, it's also been kind of proven recently that, you know, if you eat high cholesterol food, it doesn't necessarily mean you will have high cholesterol. But it's...
Right.
Listen,
it can help.
Let's be honest. The food I'm eating is not helping my cause. I'm not eating enough fiber, which can help push the cholesterol through your blood system. And, you know, like, I'm not exercising, which can help reduce or raise your good cholesterol. I'm not doing those things. And it's not that it's not that I have to be in shape or whatever, and I'm air quoting that because of the body issues thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I'm not just moving. Like you have to move. You have to do that. It's just part of being healthy is getting some movement in your day. And you'd think that knowing that and stuff that I would feel at least some guilt for it. Nah, I just was like, oh, okay, I take this, cool. And it wasn't, and just for the record, I didn't go, oh, I can take this and continue to eat terribly. I have tried to cut back on certain foods, and honestly, I'm on a medicine for my gout, which is a big reason that I've cut back on a lot of the tried to cut back on certain meats and different stuff because the more of that stuff I eat, the more I can feel it in my joints. So.
I mean, and we are getting to the age where what we eat will affect us in positive and negative ways.
Yeah.
It just is. That's where we're at with things
because
now.
when you're 20, you can just eat $12 worth of Taco Bell and be like, and just get, it's very similar to the drinking. Your body responds, it bounces back quick. It's like a little kid gets, a child gets a broken arm and everyone's like, oh, and it's like, they're a little kid, they're fine. It's like, they'll heal, they'll be good. A 30-year-old gets a broken arm, it's a little more like, oh man, that's gotta really suck, Yeah.
It's like 3 to 6 weeks when a little kid breaks their arm because their bones are growing so quickly.
Yeah.
For an adult, when you break your arm, it's more like 6 to 12 weeks.
Yeah. Well, it's almost similar to having a muscle injury as an athlete versus a non-athlete. That's why like I was going to be going in for a knee surgery, and I'm going in for an arthroscopic knee surgery. I'm going in for the most basic knee surgery you basically can have.
Yeah.
And I was in physical therapy at the time because my knee was hurting, and they were trying to help me alleviate the pain. And once I decided I was going to have them do the surgery to have a look-see inside, the therapist I was going to was like, well, instead of trying to this and this, he's like, let's just work on strengthening your quad and your calf muscles. That way you will come out of that surgery in the event that they have to do anything that's a little more drastic. He's like, you'll be able to bounce back quicker. And I was like, huh. And he, at the same time I was in there, the therapist's dad was in, he was going to have double knee replacements. And he was in there, and he's hitting the weights. And it's the same thing. He's trying to get strengthened up before he went in for surgery so that, if you get yourself to a let's say an 8 out of 10 strength-wise, surgery is going to drop you a couple points because you're not going to be able, especially with knee replacements, you're down for a little while,
Sure.
So you're going to drop to whatever, I don't know, let's say, for sake of argument, let's just say a 4 or something, or a 6,
Yeah.
And it's like, but if you start out at 10 and you drop down, then you're dropping down to 6 or something, to where you're still, and you see it all the time. You see these guys, these athletes get something that, unless it's a bone, but if it's like a muscle issue, a lot of them bounce back really fast,
Right.
And part of that's because they're stubborn and just, nope, I'm going to, go back to probably 2 weeks earlier, but.
But the other part of it is, you're right. They're starting at a stronger, higher level of fitness.
Right. Plus, rehab's not as hard. Yeah. For certain injuries, rehab won't be as hard for them because they hit the gym all the time anyway. Don't get me wrong. Again, if it's a ligament injury like an ACL or an Achilles especially, I've heard that an Achilles injury, it doesn't matter what level your fitness is, it's grueling. It's horrible to go through. Like, it's super painful because you have to re-stretch that ligament. The ACL and stuff, when they fix it, it stretches a little. It's tight, but it'll stretch on its own. The Achilles, you have to really kind of work at to stretch it back out. And I guess I've read different times, there's a good amount of times where people have, like, a setback. Like, like they partially tear it after they've torn it, and then you're right back into a boot and,
Start over.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just, the whole thing is very fascinating, but I did want to kind of back up just a touch to, we were talking about valuations and how we value things in our lives and how we value our food, how we value ourselves, and the values we assign to things can get really skewed and really out of whack quickly.
Yeah.
Based upon our histories, where we came from, our past, our future, the fabric that makes us who we are as individuals. We've learned the value of different things. And when you're an adult and you're trying to change your view on how you value things, it becomes quite difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're a kid, you want to have all the friends, you want to have all the toys, you want to have all the everythings.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you start to understand that it's not important to have all of the things. It's important to have more of the quality.
Yeah, to have good things, not all the things. Yeah,
it's
good
like,
friends.
I don't need
not
five friends. I've got 2 awesome friends.
Right, exactly. Yep. It's great if you can have awesome friends and friends. That's great too. But yeah, it is. You're right. It's like, it stinks if you have like 20 friends, but none of them that you feel like that could be part of your support system, essentially. You know, or that when you need something, you could call them just, hey, I need to talk. You know, it's like, oh, you know, I would, but, you know, then they're more essentially acquaintances. They're social friends, if you will. Like, you know, some people that you were friends with at school, but you never hung out with. Yep. Like that kind of a friend. Or you have work friends, basically, to where it's like, oh, well, we have lunch together, but that's it. Like, we don't go do anything unless it's a company function. We don't do anything else together. You know, everybody's probably got or had that, you know.
Well, and it's just, I think that's just one arena. I mean, we've talked about so many different places now. I mean, as far as valuation.
Yeah.
Like, how do we value ourselves? Do we take care of ourselves? Do we put a high value on ourselves?
Yeah.
How do we value our friends?
Yeah.
You know, do we put a high value on friends? Do we not? Our food?
Yeah.
Do we value our food? Do we not?
Right. And even like going, you know, like with ourselves, it's like, what are you valuing? Like me, I'm on a bunch of medicines. I don't want to be on a bunch of medicines. So at this point, I have to start going, what do I value more? Eating and doing whatever I want, or living a better life or a healthier life? Like, at this point, that's kind of where I'm at. You know, I have to make that decision, and it doesn't have to be that drastic. You know what I mean? Like, there is some middle ground on some of the stuff, but it's like there needs to be a change, you know? It's, you know.
You need to change how you're thinking about different things.
I have to change I have to change my priority, essentially, you know? Because right now my priority would be eat what makes me happy and what I like. And it's like, I can still do that. Like I said, instead of eating all the pizza, have a little pizza, but also have a salad with it or something or eat 2 pieces of pizza and then have a salad later to, you know, kind of a thing. It's like, okay, when I sit down, I know I'm eating terrible now, but the next time I sit down to eat good and then or eat well and then just do that again, you know? Like, it's why I don't like that whole, I see people all the time to where they have an off day. Like, they just have a day where they've eaten bad all day and they're like, oh, I threw my diet away and I'm a fat ass. And it's like, no. It's like your mental situation right there is what's going to cause your problem. First of all, don't look at it as a diet. It's a lifestyle change. Like, you have to think and, you know, you have to just make these changes, not go, I'm doing this to lose weight. It's like, I'm doing this to get healthier, not doing it to lose weight. If you lose weight along the way, fine. But that shouldn't be, you know, I love people when they hear, you know, like, you know, throw out the scales. I know Angela's going to love if she hears this. You know, you throw out the scales because it's like the biggest enemy. Because how many people do you see? They start working out. They're doing great. You know, I've seen my sister do this. You know, she's lost, like, at one point, she had lost, like, 50 pounds. She was looking good, doing great, you know. And that's what she wanted to do. She was doing that because she wanted to reduce. She didn't want to go into diabetic medicines or high cholesterol, or not high cholesterol, like high blood pressure medicine. She wanted to stop before she gets to that, and that's great, you know. So she changed her lifestyle. She started working out. She was eating better, and then she plateaued. And when people plateau, they keep stepping on that scale, and it says the same thing. And you don't realize that your body's changing during that time. And, you know, you can be losing here and gaining here, and you still can be going the right way. But because they hit that plateau and they stay there for too long, they start giving up. You know,
that's why they recommend that you use measurements as well.
Yes,
because your body will change measurements quicker than it will show weight loss. I
loved in the one kit group I'm in, there's a woman that's trying to lose some weight. And one of the women in there was like, you know, the best thing you can do is throw out your scale and just pay attention to your belt. She's like, scales lie, belts don't. And I was like, that's so true.
Yes.
You put your belt on and you go, hey, that's an extra notch. That's all you need. You know, there's nothing wrong with stepping on a scale occasionally, just, you know, for curiosity or whatever, you know, but realistically, it's like, it's similar to like the BMI kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It gives you an unhealthy complex, you know, like, oh, I didn't lose 2 pounds this week. Great. You know, and I guess, and some people will react the other way too, is that if they don't hit that weight goal, they go extreme. And then you start making bad decisions, even though you think you're making good decisions. You know, it's just like, well, I guess I need to, you know, like, so they'll cut back on chicken because chicken has calories. They'll cut back on that on their salads. And it's like,
yes,
you didn't help yourself there, because that chicken is protein, it's fuel, it's good for muscle building, you know, like it's good for all the right reasons, essentially. And it's like, you just made a bad decision that you just are now thinking, well, I'll eat less so I hit the weight goal. It's like, but you're not getting healthier doing that. You're going, that's the, you know, that's why I said the goal should be healthier, not thinner. If you get thinner, that's fine, but that shouldn't be your goal, you know.
And what's the point? I just, what's the point of the number?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
right. If you're, the thing with me is, because you know, I've gained and lost weight a good majority of my life, and I felt crappy when I was at some of my thinnest because I wasn't eating right.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
And I felt the best sometimes when I was heavy. So it's like, how do you feel on the inside?
Yeah.
And does it make me feel good if I go and look and I've lost 10 pounds? Yes.
Yeah.
But if I've lost 10 pounds and I go and I put on my clothes and they feel tight because I'm bloated, or, you know, it's just, or they don't change size, that makes me feel worse than if I didn't lose any weight and my clothes fit me different.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like how my clothes fit me and how I see myself in the mirror matters more to me than the numbers on the scale.
Right.
Because the numbers on the scale, I mean, I can be 20 pounds lighter on the scale and my clothes fit me the same.
Yeah.
Because of the way my body is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, where I'm losing the weight.
Right.
You know,
well,
here's and like, I've lost 20 pounds. It's like, where the hell did I lose it from?
Yeah.
My ankles?
Right.
Because my waistline's still not the same size.
Well, like with me, I lose it in the face. That's like the first place. You know, a lot of people do. I'll lose it in my face. I usually lose it, like, I can always tell with me because, you know, like, as I get fatter, my belly basically gets taller.
Yeah.
And I can feel it pushing more toward like my breastbone. So I can feel that difference. So I can feel my shirts fit differently as I lose even a few pounds, like 5 pounds. I can feel my shirt fit differently. But after a certain point, I notice that I start losing the weight in like my legs, but it doesn't seem to be like, it's not necessarily my waist. It's just in like my thighs or whatever. And it's like, well, you know, you don't feel a lot of difference there, you know, and it's the same thing. Like, or I'll lose it in my arms a little bit or something, you know. So it's like, I do lose weight in areas where I'm like, I don't really feel any different. But you're right. It's like when I put my clothes on, I can go, this shirt fits differently. You know, like I know what shirts of mine fit tight and which ones don't, you know.
Exactly.
So, and again, that's why, you know, belt, you know, scales lie, belts don't. You know, you can step on that scale and it can go, wow, I'm really fat. But like they talked about, you know, like when Jeannie was on Angela's Awesome Podcast with Heno, and they talked about that, you know, and she's talked about that with her weight and stuff, about how for the weight she is, you would look at her and go, and assume she has what I'm going through with all the stuff with the medical stuff, and she didn't, you know, because she eats really well, you know, and, you know, and I'm sure there's some genetics that factor in somewhere in that as well.
Absolutely,
because you know, I don't know her family history. I know mine's not good when it comes to like heart disease and cholesterol and, you know, those kind of things. But, you know, whatever. It's just that, you know, you can. It's why size can't be used as much as of a factor as healthy or not healthy, because you don't know until you run the tests. You know, like Heno even said, you know, a guy his size just assumes he's in good shape. You know, he works out, he eats right, but, you know, it's like a guy who's his size. Like I said, my brother's similar in size probably to Heno, and, you know, walks for his job and all that kind of stuff, but he could just as easily, you know, he went into the doctor and they were like, wow, your blood pressure's high, your cholesterol's high, you know, and it's like, you look at him and go, yeah, he's thin, you know, thin equals healthy, right? Not so fast.
And it's all in what you value and how you value things. You know, as I'm getting older, the less I'm valuing those numbers, and the more I'm valuing how I look, how I feel.
Well,
you know,
like with me, what I value are the numbers the doctor just told me. I want to go in next time, and I don't want to hear those same numbers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear this, and this are high. I want to have them go, okay, you know, they're still, or even if they're a little high, but they're lower. You know, like, am I moving?
Those are your litmus. Those are your progress steps.
Yeah, those are important numbers. You know, even if I'm the exact same weight, but those numbers are down. I mean, I guess that probably mean that my medicine's working, but, you know.
They mean a variety of things.
Yeah.
But it's also in what and how you're valuing things and how you're looking at things, and, you know, quantity versus quality and quality versus quantity, and going back and forth, and thinking about your choices that you're making in your foods and your lives. You know, it's like when you are doing something, stop. Or even after you've done something that maybe didn't make you feel the best in the world, whether it's a bad decision, regardless, whatever it is, stop and think about it. It's like, why did I make that decision?
Yeah.
It's like, why did I have a candy bar? Did I have that candy bar because I really wanted the chocolate? Or did you have that candy bar because I was feeling stressed, and if I eat a piece of chocolate, it makes me feel better?
Yeah.
What else, when you're feeling stressed, makes you feel better?
Right.
You know,
well,
instead of taking the easy go-to.
Yeah.
Big thing for me is I don't have a lot of appetite because of the medicine that I'm on.
Yeah.
But because of that, I don't make good choices because I don't have much appetite, and I don't really feel like eating much of anything. So I grab something easy, quick, and, you know, in whatever. And that usually turns out to be junky stuff, because junky stuff is easy, quick, and whatever.
Right.
Well, in my head, it's like, well, you dummy, if you don't really have a craving for anything in particular, why are you eating the easy junky stuff?
Right.
When you could just eat a salad? You know, if you don't really feel like eating, you don't really have a craving for anything in particular,
why not make a good choice instead of a bad choice? Yeah, exactly.
Right. Let's just make the good choice.
Right. And you know, honestly, most of the time it'll probably come down to ease. Like, you know, you're driving around and you're like, I don't really feel like anything for dinner tonight. And you see Wendy's and you're like, I'll get some chicken nuggets and fries, you know? So, you know.
All these places, they have salads.
I know.
You know what I mean? They have, it's just as convenient for me to say, the salad as for me to say, I'll have the hamburger.
Right. Now, in fairness, a lot of the salads at the places are worse than if you got, you know, like at Wendy's, if you got a small burger and a baked potato, generally you're probably eating better than if you eat one of their salads. So
not the way I eat my potatoes, but yeah.
yeah. You can't eat all the fixins on the potatoes.
Exactly. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So yes, you do need to be conscious of that as well, because salads are not always the
yeah. Or in fairness, you know, stuff like a lot of places, if you go and you're like, oh, they have a turkey burger, and many times the turkey burgers are cooked in a bunch of like butter and whatnot to add more flavor to them, because, you know, turkey tends to dry out. And a lot of times the turkey burger ends up being worse for you than some of the regular burgers. So, you know, that's why, I mean, in really, there's less of an excuse for that kind of stuff now because smartphones. You can pull up, like, oh, I'm at Chili's. Pull up, oh, turkey burger. Wow, it's 800 calories. Regular burger has, 750 or, you know, and less fat. It's like, well, I guess I'm going that way, you know, kind of a thing. So
right. And that's the thing, but it's all in the value of things. It's like, do I value this hamburger more than I value, do I value this hamburger now?
Yeah.
more than I value something else that I want later.
Right.
We're so short-sighted. We lose track of things because everything's so instantaneous, in your face, quick, easy, and you lose track of thinking about the future and later and what's going to happen then. So, it's starting to value yourself, value how you feel. Think about all of these little things that you do. Focus on the stuff that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Find out why it makes you feel good. Repeat that action, because if you're feeling good, I eat a burger, I feel junky. I eat a chicken, and I feel better. Guess what? Let's eat more chicken. It's stuff like that we don't stop and think about, because we're so still caught up in the, man, when I was a kid, I just loved having a burger with my dad.
A great,
that type of stuff.
Again, I can give a perfect example of this, because McDonald's fries to me are home. You know, they're the nostalgia food. So, and we've done this plenty of times where it's like, what do you want to? I don't know. What do you want? How about McDonald's? Okay, kind of a thing. Like because I know I can get two things there that always hit a certain note generally, and that's their fries and a fountain Coke. Because and Tony and I, oddly enough, just talked about the fountain Coke thing on Salty Language also. So, but it's true. It's those two things. Anytime I can get a fountain Coke, usually I'm like, yes, and because there's something about it that makes me happy. It's terrible for me. I know I don't need it. Especially hearing my sugars up. I really, and I've cut back. I used to drink a ton of pop. I've cut down to where I drink about a can a day, which is still too much, honestly. But I've tried to eliminate it. But my problem is that I, for some reason or another, like the taste of it. And when liking the taste of it, there's nothing that replaces a Coke. There's there's no juice, there's no seltzer water or sparkling water. There is nothing that replaces a Coke. Certain pops you might be able to get around. Like if you like orange pop, let's say, you're a huge, orange pop fan or whatever, or grape or whatever. You could drink a juice and probably get near that taste.
Juice and seltzer water together. You
You can't get close with Coke. Just there's
with
no
any
way.
Cola, honestly.
Yeah, with any cola, exactly. Dr. Pepper, even any of the darker pops, or even something like Mountain Dew, you can't really get close to if you're a big Mountain Dew fan. So, and I'm sure
pick your poison. Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure that's part of the reason why those pops have those flavors. Like if you love Sprite or Sierra Mist, 7-Up, any of the lemon lime ones, you can replicate that a little bit. It's still never quite the same, but you can get a similar taste by lemon and lime juice. Some seltzer water, basically, or if you have like a soda stream machine type of thing, you can get pretty close, because I've done that a few times myself, and you can get fairly close on those. But yeah, that's why I said it's unfortunate that the ones I like are terrible, because
but that's when you stop and you're like, okay, do I just have a craving for this?
Yeah.
Or do I have a craving for this item, or do I have a craving for the feeling that comes along with this item?
Yeah, and with me, I think it's actually the item, because
you're gonna have that.
Because
we all have that.
In fact, when I was senior in high school, my dad had a quadruple bypass, and when he did, we drastically changed. Like, we went from eating just whatever to we went on what was called a diabetic diet, basically, which is slightly different than it's still similar. Like, if you go to the American Diabetic Association's website, they basically, they have guidelines for eating and whatnot. It's called the DASH diet now.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty highly recommended diet. But again, when you say diet, people go,
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we did that, and across my senior year, through that whole year-ish, roughly, I lost about 70 pounds. And part of it was for commercial art, which was a 3-hour class, I used to take in like a 2-liter of like Mountain Dew almost every day with me. And by the end of that class, it was gone. Like, I was drinking 2 liters at least of some sort of a pop, or at least half to a full one almost every day. And, which horrible idea.
Right.
But, I quit doing that. I started eating better. And oddly enough, like, during that time, we were selling candy for the class to raise money. And I didn't take one piece of candy out of it. I mean, we're selling full candy bars, and I didn't take one out of that. Well, because I was eating better, and I didn't want it, So,
Yes.
but the whole time I wanted pop so bad. And I mean, I'm talking like a year later, I was like, I want a Coke so bad. And it wasn't anything else other than it's just I wanted a Coke. And then I had one, and, you know, like I said, here we are again, and I've cut myself back because it's easy to just keep drinking it because it's readily available. You know, you buy cans or a bottle or whatever, you know, so, but... Yeah.
But you have to stop, and everything you put in your body, every choice that you make, everything that you do, you have to assign a value to it. And that value is going to change. It's going to fluctuate all the time.
Well, realistically, look at pop. What value does it add at all? It adds none. I mean, zero value. Right. There's nothing good about it. You know, other than if you have nothing else to drink, it will hydrate you.
Yeah, it will hydrate you, and there is nostalgic properties and taste properties, you know.
Well, but you
like it, and that's fine.
No. But we talked before about that's a problem. Like that's essentially that's something you shouldn't be doing with your food. You know,
right? To a certain extent, it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, it's always going to exist. You know, maybe it shouldn't, but it's always going to exist. You're always going to have cravings. You're always going to want certain things.
Yeah.
The key is breaking it down and saying, do I want it because I just really love Coke and I haven't had Coke forever and I just really want the taste? Fine, have the Coke. Yep. But next time you go grab that Coke, it's like, am I really grabbing this Coke because I really want the taste of this Coke and I miss the taste of the Coke? Well, you had one like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's much different. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, okay, the value of this second Coke is not nearly as high as the value of the first Coke was for me. So I have to decide at that point. It's like, okay, the value of the second Coke has diminished greatly because I just had the first Coke.
Right.
So I can have this Coke, or, man, there's some really good looking chicken over there. And I really love, like grilled chicken with a little bit of cheese on top and stuff. Well, and I look at that and I look at the Coke, and all of a sudden, guess what? Coke's value has gone down to 0. That chicken has gone up to 10. So I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have my chicken now because that's what I value. It's seeing how you value different things and how it changes. And pretty soon, if you start applying that, not just to your food, not just to your drinks, start applying it to your friends. Apply it to work. I mean, I do that all the time because we have this thing where there's unlimited overtime. There's a ton of work to get done. They don't hire enough people to get the work done in a reasonable 40-hour week because people will take all of the overtime. In my opinion, I know me. I know my mental health as well as different other factors that factor into my life. There is no dollar amount that can match up to. You can't pay me. Well, I shouldn't say that because there's always a price.
I was going to say that's not true.
There's always a value.
To make an old wrestling reference, $1 Million Man used to say everyone's got a price.
Yes.
And that is 100% true.
But as I've told them, I said, at the price you're paying me for overtime, I am willing to give you, 5 to 10 more hours a week. Because you're paying me more, I'll give you 5 to 10 more hours a week, and I will, as needed, as I deem needed. But when I go to stay late, I always ask myself the same question. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay an extra hour. That's X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
X amount of dollars versus an hour sitting on my couch.
Yeah.
And I have to stop, and I'm like, okay, what do I value more? Some days I value the hour on the couch. Some days I value the extra money. So you just, it's that constant valuation in your head.
Yeah.
I think Elton Brown said it best when he said that Elton Brown is a chef, for all of you who do not know who he is. He had an amazing show called Good Eats. Highly recommend looking it up. Look him up. Very intelligent man.
He's also the host of Cutthroat Kitchen and Iron Chef America.
There you go.
And various other shows that they've had on Food Network. Like Food Network Star, he's been on various times. And
yeah, he's all over the Food Network. Just a great guy. On TV, anyway.
Good podcast, too, by the way. The Elton Brown podcast is a really good podcast. Yeah.
But I digress. He once said, will be more to me.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I think it froze, so you need to repeat that.
Okay. So what he said was, he's like, no steak in the world is worth more than $30 to me. Because in his mind, he's like, you know what? I don't care. This steak could be dipped in gold and the most amazing steak on the face of the planet.
Was it steak or was it a burger? I thought it was a burger he said that about. Steak. I could see him paying more than $30 for a steak. A burger, I don't see him paying more than $30 for. All right, whatever.
Regardless of the food item, I think the point stays the same regardless of the food item he's talking about, which is he put the valuation on that food at $30. Yeah. He said, that's it. Any more than that, there's other things I would value. If I'm spending $40 on this food item, I would value $40 elsewhere in my life.
His skill set also, I'm sure, makes some difference in that because he can make himself really, he can make food exactly how he wants it. So,
And I'm sure if he was starving and didn't have any other source of food, he'd pay $100 for a steak or for a burger or whatever.
Yeah.
Circumstances do dictate values.
Yeah.
But I think his point is solid, which is, once you get set in your mind and you start thinking about the values of things and what you're valuing at the moment and how you're valuing it, it really puts in perspective, your decisions. Like when for a while when we lived together, I would come home, I was stressed out from work, and I'd come home and I'd go and grab a beer. And you would stop me and you're like, okay, why are you grabbing a beer?
Yeah.
Are you grabbing a beer because you want a beer? Or are you grabbing a beer because you want to forget all the stuff that has happened to you today?
Yeah.
And when you stop and think about it, I'm like, well, I'm kind of grabbing a beer because I kind of want to forget.
Right.
He's like, okay. So what else can you do to forget or deal with?
And don't get me wrong.
Avoid?
There's I don't see anything wrong with coming home and having a drink or two if you want to. If that's what you want to do to relax, I can get that.
Sure.
We all understand that. But it's just when you see it day after day kind of a thing, it's like this is a pattern, and then today it's not one beer, it's two or three, and it's like this is a road that alcoholics go down. Like this is essentially how you develop a drinking problem across time, So
it's all about the values.
Yeah.
And how you're valuing things and how you're making your choices.
Yep.
Are you making the right choice? Are you grabbing that beer because you want to drink a beer? Because you miss the taste?
Yeah.
Because you want a beer?
Because it's just refreshing after a day of work. That's fine. Or after you cut the grass. I don't care.
Whatever.
Or just to have a good time. Like, hey, you're going out with your friends. You just want a beer. I don't care. Right. But anytime you're drinking to forget, you've got to really be careful because that's dangerous area,
Same thing with cheeseburgers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Same thing with fried chicken.
Sure, yeah.
And it's same thing with French fries. All of this is it's all the same thing. It all boils down to what you value at that moment. Why are you valuing it at the value that you're giving it?
Yeah.
Is it reasonable to value it at that, such as AKA if you're starving and someone says I got a cheeseburger for $100, right? That cheeseburger's worth $100.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. At that point, it's supply and demand.
Yeah, exactly. You're like,
It's like, well, I'm the buyer. There's high demand, low supply. I don't get to dictate the market here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's a $100 cheeseburger. It could be a McDonald's cheeseburger you can buy in the 99-cent menu.
Yep.
If there's no other food around and that's all you got, that is the most expensive cheeseburger on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
So it's all relative. It's all in perspective, and it's all in how you want to look at it. So that's why I really think that the whole point of the show, we kind of ran around a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different things that are happening, but they all kind of break down to the same basic system.
Yeah.
look at your choices. How are you valuing your time? How are you valuing yourself?
Well,
how are you valuing other people and the things that you are putting into your life?
Yeah. One of the things, like, way back when you were talking about various foods and choosing, like, the Coke versus chicken kind of a thing, that was actually why that diet we went on worked really well when I was in high school, was basically, you know, if you were having spaghetti for dinner, you know, obviously as a diabetic, you have to be careful of carbs because, you know, carbs can, and spaghetti sauce, because high sugar content generally, unless you make your own, even still, I mean, sugar, you know, tomatoes, but, so what they did was, you know, like my dad was a guy who used to like to have a piece of bread with his meal. Well, if you have spaghetti, you have pasta, so you've already got your carb. Like, you know, your or grain, however you want to, you know, look at it. So basically, if he wanted to have a piece of bread, he could have less pasta, where he could have very little, like, spaghetti with the sauce and meat, you know. So it was, well, which do you value more? Do you really want that piece of bread, or would you rather have... And it was funny how much less bread he was consuming, because he's like, I'd rather have the pasta because it's the better choice, basically. Like, I know across the night that's the better choice, you know. And which is true, because, I mean, geez, you look at, you know, bread, it's, you know, most Americans get most of their salt in their diet from bread. Because bread is generally high in salt. And it's also can be high in a variety of other stuff, sugar, fat, you know, like it's, you have to be very careful with your bread, you know. It can be a very, not dangerous, but it can be a very, I don't know what the word for it is, but it's like it's
deceiving.
Deceiving. Thank you. It sneaks in a lot of stuff that you don't want sometimes. So, you know, make sure you read your labels and try to...
Absolutely.
Again, it's like most foods, the fewer the ingredients, generally the better it is. You know, like kind of a thing. You find a bread, it should probably have, what, 7... I think it's around 7 ingredients or something. If it has more than that, it's probably, you know, you should probably keep looking.
And just, you know, I think there's, like, tons and tons and tons and tons and tons articles and podcasts and all this stuff about labels. I mean, make sure you read your labels, people.
Right, because made with whole grains versus 100% whole grains, or whole wheat versus whole grains, or multi-grain.
Right. I mean, it's just, and even stuff as simple as, you know, as granola, protein bars,
all natural.
All the stuff that we're told is healthy is loaded with sugar and loaded with fat and other junks added to it. Just because it's in the organic section does not mean it's healthy.
Right. Again, all natural doesn't mean healthy. It's one of those, like, if you see something that's like, you know, now with less sugar, your first question should be, what did you replace it with?
Or what sugar amount did you start with?
Right. Well, it's like a lot of times some of these companies, they'll take sugar out, but they'll add honey. Well,
corn syrup.
Or corn syrup. Yeah, your body processes these things as, you know, sweet sugar kind of a thing. And honey's better for you, probably, you know, but it's still, or fine for you, I mean, but it's still a high sweet type of thing, you know. So, you know, there's just too much that can be deceptive on that stuff. So, you know, it's just better to, you know, when you can make your own, you know. A lot of that stuff's super easy. I'll be honest, like, that's how I've learned to cook a lot of the stuff I've learned to cook is, you know, eat somewhere and go, wow, I really like this. Get on the internet and go and just type in whatever it is. If it's from a restaurant, type the restaurant in. You can you'll probably find a mock recipe, and most of the time they're pretty close. Like most of the ones I've done, or, you know, if you like Hamburger Helper or something, there's probably a recipe for that exact thing online, you know, like, so, and most of the time they're super easy to make.
And invest in, like, one of the gadgets, as seen on TV gadgets, that is worth investing in is the magic bullet.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, I said, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's worth it. I mean, you will get your money back out of that so many times. Yeah. I mean, I've made peanut butter in that. I've made spaghetti sauce in that.
Oh, man.
And it's so freaking easy. You just, like, seriously, people, peanut butter, you put the peanuts in the thing, you add a little bit of peanut oil or a little bit of some whatever oil liquid that you want to add in there.
Right.
I personally like a little salt, Some people don't, whatever.
Right.
Put a little salt in there. You know, if you want chocolate
really
peanut
quick,
butter, you
that's
put a little cocoa powder.
You put salt in, probably not if you start with salted peanuts, but if you start with unsalted peanuts, then yeah, probably throw salt. Exactly. Not much, just a little bit goes a long way in peanut butter. Like, you don't want it to be too salty, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. And same thing with, the sugared peanuts. If you get honey roasted or whatever, blah, blah, blah. All taste amazing when you make peanut butter. That's all you do. Peanuts, a little bit of liquid in there. You flip it over, stick it on top of the thing, you push down.
Yeah.
You maybe stop and mix it up a couple times.
Yeah, you may have to add a little more oil because it tends to be dry if you don't get enough oil. But
exactly. So you just, you may have to mix it a couple times just to make sure everything's getting evenly done.
That's it, though.
And you push it down again, and you let it go until it gets the consistency that you want.
Right. Well, and
peanut butter.
All you have to remember, though, is that while you're doing it, when it grinds, it gets warm. So it's really kind of loose a lot of times when you're done. When if you stick it in the refrigerator, it firms up to where it'll be just like regular peanut butter after that. Because there's no preservatives in it, you usually keep it in the fridge.
Keep it in the fridge.
You keep it in the fridge so it'll last a little longer. If you don't like it from the fridge, you can always leave it out for a few minutes before you use it, and it'll soften up a little bit. But
and guess what, people? Tomato sauce. Canned tomatoes. Into the magic bullet. A little bit of seasonings, whatever you prefer, oregano, a little red pepper flake, whatever, trips your trigger. A little jalapeno
I used to put straight up vegetables in there too, remember? I used to put carrots in there to counter the acidity. I put mushrooms, peppers, onions a lot of times right into it. And I feel like I'm forgetting something else I used to throw in there too. Well, garlic, and just blend it up and it's pretty much ready to go. You go. Heat it up
in the microwave for a minute and
or a
put it on top of your pasta.
Yep. That's what I said. It's a lot of the stuff. It was super easy. I mean, tomato sauce is easy to make on its own anyway. I mean, you can. It's really simple. You just have to take a little time with it to let all the flavors marry. But it's just there's stuff like that. A lot of that is so easy to make. And that's why, we went through a phase where we ate a lot of frozen stuff, and I was like, we got to stop this. We're just throwing this money away, and this stuff is awful for us. And
it doesn't even taste good.
No, and you start making stuff. Yeah, like the chicken tastes like just some weird whatever, and it's just...
The only thing that, there's certain things that you can't recreate because it's just a signature flavor, a.k.a. pizza rolls. I love you, Totino's.
Yeah.
Totino's pizza rolls, Totita's party pizzas. There is nothing else on the planet that I have ever eaten that has the exact same flavor or even comes close for my mouth, for my taste buds. So I'm sure there's things that are out there that are much better, all that stuff. But $1.19 Totino's party pizza, I love them.
Which is really sad. It's so sad. I've eaten plenty of them myself. But it's so sad because, getting this stuff, even if you buy a pre-made crust and just add everything else you do, like, we used to do, I'd get a pre-made crust and I would I would make the sauce. We'd get good, decent mozzarella, fresh pepperoni, all this kind of, and veggies. We'd cut up the veggies and throw them on there, and the pizza would be fantastic. But it's just different. I don't know why those others taste good from time to time, but they do.
And that's the thing. I don't know if it's like it's the nostalgia, if I have just memories of this, or
I think that's what it is with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly do, because we ate those a good amount.
A good portion of it is with me too. It's stuff I don't even remember, but somewhere in the nuggets of my brain, there's this little, there's just something about that particular flavor. It is your Coke, your Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
That is my Coca-Cola. Pops, I could give two flying, whatever's about it.
Yeah.
I don't really care about Pop. Pop's never been important in my life. But for some reason, those pizza rolls will always hold my heart.
Yeah.
Next to Jelly Bellies. But we all know how I love about my Jelly Bellies.
Well, yeah, it seemed like you and Heno share a thing for the sweets like that.
Gummies, jelly beans.
Yeah, I was gonna say he talks about Mike and Ike's and stuff like that. So yeah, it's
dude,
fighting the fight.
They have Mike and Ike's out now, because I do enjoy spicy things as well, people. They have Mike and Ike's now that are called, like, the Heat, and it's or Tropical Heat. That's what they are.
Okay.
Tropical Heat, and it's like lime and lemon and like a citrusy one, and they have this like the red flecks all over them. I have no idea what the heat is from. I mean, obviously it's got to be some sort of capsaicin.
Yeah.
But they're just, it's that sweet tart and then hot on your tongue.
It's probably whatever they make hot tamales with. It's probably just mixed in, essentially.
Exactly. Like little dots of that all over it. I don't know, but they're so freaking good. Yeah. Can you guys tell I'm getting hungry again?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm the same way, though. Like, if you put, like, there's certain stuff like that, like, I have no control over myself at times. Like, I love Cool Ranch Doritos. I will eat a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos if they're put in front of me. So when I buy them, I tend to buy small bags. So if I do eat the whole bag, I'm only eating a small bag of them, But it's like when you go to buy, like Mike and Ike's or something, they're in that decent size, like movie size, movie theater size box. And they're $1. So you're like, it's only $1, and you buy them and then, I'll eat every one of them. Like I'm the same way with that kind of stuff. Like jelly beans, I can take or leave, depends on which ones. But I've always loved Mike and Ike's. And it's like I used to be that way with Dots.
Yes.
When I worked at Hollywood Video, we used to sell, like, we sold the same candy you could get in the movie theater, basically. And it was part of the whole experience thing, whatever. And I used to eat Dots and Gobstoppers, like, all the damn time. I'm Mike and Ike's. And until, I got yelled at by my dentist, and he's like, do you realize how much money you're costing yourself in work here? So, I was like, yeah, he's got a point. I should probably stop eating some of this, especially the Gobstoppers, because I was breaking my teeth on them, because I'm a biter. So I don't let them. Yeah, I bite through them.
All of my cavities are in between my teeth.
Yeah.
And that's when the doctor looked at me. He's like, you like gummies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how can you tell? He's like, yeah. Sticky, gummy stuff in between the teeth equals cavities in between the teeth. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I can say that. So,
like, the only gummy things I eat are my vitamins.
Exactly. My
it's like, how many vitamins are you taking a day? All of them? No? That's not good?
I will say certain things have, as I've grown older, certain things have lost some of their childhood luster.
Yeah.
Dots are one of them. I always loved Dots.
I'll say this. I'm very picky about Dots. If I open the box and they're not soft, I'll throw them right in the trash. Yeah. Because if they're not, like, fresh, basically, I don't want them. Like, I don't want to have to really chew through them. The real soft ones are you can kind of chew through them real easy. I love them that way. If they're hard to chew through, it's like, nope, right in the trash. And I have thrown countless boxes of them away. There's probably a way to soften them. I don't know. Like maybe in a microwave or something for a few seconds. But it's just not the same. Yeah.
You just add a little bit of heat from the microwave, like not even 10 seconds.
Which makes sense because they're
softens all the things up. Something that I've learned from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, for those of you who are old enough to remember that movie. There's a scene at the very, 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 very end of the movie when they're playing the credits, and the is playing, and they do little scenes in between it.
Yeah.
The principal is on the bus, and he ends up sitting down next to this little girl, and she offers him gummy worms. She's like, I've had them in my pocket all day, so they're nice and soft.
That makes sense, right?
Yep. And ever since then, I'm like, that is brilliant.
Well, there you go, fellas. Take that condom out of your wallet and tuck a pack of gummy worms in there, because you shouldn't keep your condoms in your wallet, first of all. And
right, for various reasons.
Yeah, always use protection, but, keep not one from your wallet. And and just put a small pack of gummy worms in there. That'll make everybody happier anyway.
Exactly. Warm gummies.
Yeah. And you'll probably be less embarrassed if it falls out in front of someone else. So
very true.
Like what?
But Dots have kind of lost their luster for me.
Yeah, I've gotten to where I don't eat them very much anymore either.
Yeah, they're almost like too gelatinous and not enough flavor.
Yeah, I've gotten to where as I got older, like anything that basically reeks of pure sugar, I can't eat.
Yeah.
Like if it's, and Tony and I were just talking about that with beers and stuff too, and drinks, like shots and stuff.
Yeah.
That if anything, if it's too sweet, or like him and I are not fans of the hard root beers, like a lot of people are, and we think it's because we like IPAs and bitter beers. So it's like and those tend to be sweet. So we tend to go the opposite way with our likes in beers. So yeah.
But the other childhood favorite of mine that I've kind of gone away from is cheesy poofs. In particular, Planters cheese balls.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Those little round canisters. Well, I shouldn't even say little.
Yeah.
Those round canisters that you would get.
Yeah.
That little pop when you lift the little seal off of him, and you just mow through the entire thing.
It's funny because you're talking about that, and the ones I always remember were our friend Kelly used to buy like this gigantic thing from like Sam's Club or whatever. Oh, yeah. This massive thing of cheese balls, and we would get together to watch. Yeah, we'd get together to watch wrestling, and just pretty much just dump the thing out in a bowl or put it out in front of all of us, and we're just the whole night, and yeah.
And to this day, I'll still.
And those should terrify you because that color does not really exist.
No, there's nothing about it that's redeemable whatsoever. And it's so funny because when I eat them nowadays, because I will catch myself in just that moment, and you're like, I really want cheesy puffs. So I go to the store, I get myself a small bag of cheesy puffs. And then I sit down and I eat it. Mm-hmm. And as I'm eating it, and I'm looking at the orange junk on my hands, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of gross. So I'm like licking it off. And I'm like, oh, no, I've just licked off my hands. So my hand is like all gross. And then, you got the junk that builds up in your teeth because of all the corn and crap. And then you're like, oh, God, I'm going to clean that off. Then you get a couple cuts on the top of your roof of your mouth from, because they're so crunchy and whatever. Mm-hmm. So after you're done, you're like, seriously? I went through all of this trouble to eat these things. And I don't feel much. I feel like I need to wash my hands, brush my teeth, and, not even halfway through it, I'm like, yeah, I'm over this. So, kind of to wrap it all up and buttonhole it a bit, that is something that I've devalued over the years.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'll still indulge myself on occasion, but I do recognize the fact that as I'm indulging myself in the cheesy poofs, it is not because I want the cheesy poofs. It's because I want to be that little girl and having the cheese all over my hands and cheese all over my face.
Yeah.
And, licking my fingers and stuff. And I just want that nostalgia. I want that feeling that they gave me when I was a kid. And I recognize that it's me going back in time and recapturing a moment.
Yeah.
It's not that cheesy poofs.
Right. And that I think is the key of the whole, what we've said tonight is, it's like the beer thing or anything else. It's like, why are you doing? And there's nothing wrong with having something for nostalgia's sake. There really isn't.
No.
Look at how much
yourself once in a while.
Yeah,
sure. Just know why you're doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those things that it's like you said, the perfect example is the Coke example you gave.
Yeah.
The first Coke you're drinking for nostalgia. Or just because you want a Coke, you just really want a. So you have one. Okay, fine, no big deal. Well, then that second Coke, it's like, why are you drinking this one? And don't get me wrong. There are some days where, like, to me, I love a cold Coke on a hot day as much as I love a cold beer on a hot day. Mm-hmm. If you had both in your hands, I would have to make a decision. You know what I mean? I'd probably pick the beer, but, it's one of those where it's like, or I'd be like, do you have any rum? Because then I can kind of have the best of both. But anyway,
right.
It's, but you're right. When you get to that second one, it's like, why am I drinking this? Like, did I really want this? Or is it that I'm just drinking it because now it's habit or nostalgia, or it's like
it's there.
It's there, yeah. And don't get me wrong, sometimes that's the reason. I mean, that's the truth. Like I don't like to drink water with my food. I know I should, but I don't. I don't like the taste. I don't like how water just. It makes everything soggy to me, and I hate that. Like, certain foods I'm cool with, but, like, if I'm eating pizza, I don't want water. Give me a beer, or give me a pop, one or the other. I don't want water, and I don't want milk or anything like that. So, that's kind of what happens. is I'll drink a second one or something, even though it's, it's a terrible idea because each can is X calories and X sugar, so when you compound it, it's like you're just dumping calories in your face going, and it's not going to keep you, it'll keep you full because of the carbonation and whatnot. Yeah. But once that's passed, it's like, if you're a person, especially when watching your calories, it's like you just threw 300 calories in your face and you got nothing out of, maybe a little happiness, but you got, on your day though, you're going to be hungry and go,
yeah. I mean, that's what's nice about certain things like iced tea, hot teas, coffees.
Right. If I could drink them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I know that's a problem for you. But,
yeah.
For those who do enjoy those are all non-caloric, and 99% of them are non-caloric and have good properties. Like,
well, in fairness, you're not talking about like bottled Lipton teas and stuff like, or Nest tea. You're talking like legit tea here.
Yeah, legit brewed teas.
Yeah.
And without sugar added, so not the sweet teas.
Right.
Like legit, straight brewed tea. And I was just going to say, if you put sugar and creamer and doctor up your coffees, that's not the same.
Right, yeah. Like Tony and I talk about it all the time about the people who drink milkshakes and pretend it's coffee,
Exactly. No, that's not the ones I'm talking about. I'm talking like pure black coffee.
Yeah.
Nice, iced tea with nothing but a little bit of lemon in it.
Right.
No sugars, no nothings in it. So in that type, if you like those are great water replacements.
Yeah.
But, for those who don't like those things, it does get kind of tough.
Like me, my options are like, and even juice you have to watch because juices tend to be super high in sugar. Like for me, what I generally will do is if I buy juice, I'll use it to flavor my water. Just so I can get a different taste for, because using lemon juice or lime juice for your water is fine and all, or an orange peel or something, that's all fine and good. But after a while, I'm like, I don't want citrus anymore. I want something else. And that's kind of a problem because it's tough to find,
And those drops, watch those drops, people.
Yeah.
The water flavorers that they have out there now, make sure you're looking at them because some of them have some really crappy stuff in them.
Yeah, a lot of them are, most of them are a whole bunch of
chemicals
made in a lab stuff, and the sweeteners in them most of the time are, most of the time they're like Splenda,
Which is, Splenda is fine. The best sweetener on the market right now as far as health-wise that we know of.
Yeah.
Based on, because I've been a ton of science come back on it yet, is stevia.
Which
stevia,
I can't use.
Yeah, it's like stevia it's not chemical.
Yeah.
It's not from the sugar cane plant. It's from a separate plant. It's less processed than the other low-calorie sweeteners, and it has no calories. It just provides the sweetness of sugar without having the calories.
Yeah.
At this time,
and
we know how things go. Maybe 10, 20 years from now, they'll find, that it's cancer-causing or, something really bad about it.
Yeah.
But at this moment, given the choices that we have in low-calorie sweeteners, stevia is known to be the best out of all of them.
That's why my preferred choice is to just avoid all of them if possible, and and just cut back on the sugar. Just trying to find other options. But that's why I said for me, I have water or I have juice. That's pretty much like if I want to drink stuff that's like low sugar, I pretty much have water. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff you can flavor water with. Think of a fruit you can probably flavor water with it, like, watermelon, and people use, there's all sorts of different, cucumbers and limes, and, there's all sorts of that stuff. Yeah, mint, exactly. There's all sorts of options, but it still tastes like water to me, and it gets old.
Without the sweetness, it tastes like water. Now, I will say, there is something that I learned from Angela's awesome podcast. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. They did something on the miracle berry.
Oh, I haven't listened to that one yet. Yeah.
Yes, which is a great episode because they actually test it. But you can get these dissolvable tabs.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle berry that I believe they said it was from Africa. And African natives have used that for a long time to replace the sugars in their diets because it tricks your taste buds into tasting sweet.
Yeah.
So, but
you can use it in like a savory food and you'll taste it as sweet. Yeah.
Well, it's acidic.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's all based upon
That's
the
what I meant,
acidity.
yeah.
So something incredibly acidic will taste incredibly sweet.
If you're a fan of Top Chef, you've probably seen it used, because I remember various chefs have used it on there, actually, in flavoring, to kind of mess with the judges a little bit, so that they think they're getting one thing, but it totally delivers a different taste to your palate, because you get sweet instead, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the perfect example are citrus, because citrus are so acidic.
Right.
You know, you're biting into a lemon and it tastes like really sweet lemonade.
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing. But like with coffee, which is somewhat acidic, but it's not super acidy. It'll deliver a little sweetness, but not a whole bunch.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with chocolate. Chocolate's not very acidic.
Right.
So it won't really do much. So non-sweetened chocolate, whatever. But they end up, they do a taste test. And it's very interesting on their podcast, because they actually do a taste test live on the podcast.
Right. Which is awesome. Like, as soon, when they talked about that, and when I forgot which of them said that they should do it on the podcast, and I was like, that's such a great idea, because that is, you know, it's something. I don't know if they did a video to go with that, but they should have if they didn't, because that would be a great YouTube clip for her site and stuff. But and they did,
they did a nice cross section of different things, trying the different things. And again, it doesn't have any of the properties of the sugars. Yeah. You know, none of the bad stuff of sugar.
Right.
It mimics it. And the other thing, it only changes your taste buds.
Yeah.
So anything past your taste buds,
right,
it's still, you know, so your stomach, if you're eating a ton of raw lemons, your stomach's going to get upset because it's too much acid.
Yeah.
It's not changing the fact that you're putting a ton of acid in your system. It'll eat away at your teeth and all the bad stuff that comes with too much acid. So you'll get heartburn, you know, the whole thing. So that's A. And B, once it gets past your taste buds, you can still smell.
Yeah.
You know, so the smell of things and how it goes down your throat does not change.
Well, you actually would smell it first, because you know, your smell is the first set of taste buds that gets activated. Right. So so
you get the smell. Your taste buds tell you another. So your sense of smell is telling you one thing. Your taste buds are telling you another. And the feel of it going down your throat, combined with the smell coming up from your throat to your sinus cavity, as you know, it all works together, people.
Right.
So you're only fooling one of the senses.
But that's really what you're looking to do, because you want if you're looking to get a sweet taste, that's you know, that's the point of it, is, you know, because it helps with that.
But it's not going to smell sweet.
Right. No,
so
but it doesn't
have to get
have
past that.
Yeah. But it wouldn't have
that
to either.
Weird sensation of this should be bitter, and it's not.
Right.
So, but we're like way.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we should probably wrap up. Yep.
Yeah, so we should wrap this up. But I want to just leave this with the listeners and stuff. Let us know what your guilty pleasures are. Let us know how you value things and what you value, you know, most right now, and really think about it, because it's obvious we all value our loved ones and all that stuff, you know. But once you get past that level and really start looking at the minutia, the little stuff in your life, and really start evaluating what's valuable, what's not valuable, and compared to each other. And let us know what you find out, if you made any ahas, any discoveries.
Or like if you used to value, like we had said, you know, like we valued things, and then now as we've gotten older and life has changed, we don't value those things the same. Or, you know, or like the guilty pleasures thing, or like what's your home food? You know, like mine was, I said the Coke, the fountain Coke, or I forgot the other one I said, but
French fries,
McDonald's French fries, you know, that kind of a thing. So, you know, what is yours, or what are yours, you know?
Exactly. So let us know. Now, if you want to continue the conversation, please reach out to me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. Again, I'll say this. I say it every week. I don't post a ton, but I do see everything that you guys send that you're copying me on and putting me in the messages. If you direct message me, I will respond to you actually fairly quickly because I do see everything. So please, please, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to talk with you. You can also send us an email to The Crazy Life. The Crazy Life.
Yep.
The Crazy Life at Outlook.com. Or no, it's Crazy Life Podcast, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Sorry. The Crazy Life Podcast at Outlook.com. The Crazy Life Podcast.
Yep.
.weebly.com.
Yep.
And you, Bryan, how can they reach you?
Another way you can reach the show is at The Crazy Life Pod on Twitter.
Yes.
And like I said, right now it's still been pretty much just me, like, hey, this is what we talked about this week. Here's the link to the show. But you can always reach out to us there as well. If you want to get me, I'm at Stunami on Twitter. If you want to check out the other show I'm on, Salty Language, it's at salty_language, and you can find the show at saltylanguage.com. If you want to listen to episodes, just, they're right there on saltylanguage.com, or you can, however you found us, if it's Stitcher, iTunes, whatever. Also, however it is that you get our show, please subscribe, and please share if you can. Those things help us to, potentially reach more of an audience and find new listeners. If you'd like to, also maybe, if you're an iTunes user, maybe leave us a review. Let us know what you think about the show and whatnot, because that helps kind of your visibility on iTunes. The more, I think it's the 5-star reviews that you get. I think if you get a certain number, you get on the new and noteworthy section, which can bring a lot of attention to a show. And then also, you can find Henno at Ida Henno. And I'm going to put in the show notes and such, I'm going to put links to the episodes of Angela's Awesome podcast, which I linked before when we did the body issues episode. And I'll also throw in the link to their newest show about the miracle berries. But yeah, definitely check out that show, Angela's Awesome podcast. Like I said, there's a lot of times we kind of parallel each other, or we're just right around the same topics at times, so it's another really good show if you're looking for a positive, podcast about, making changes in your life and the journey with it. Not just, it's not always about change. Sometimes it's just how to cope with, whatever it is, just hitting you.
Not always the destination. Sometimes it's about the journey.
Yeah. And let's see, I might forget. Trying to think. Nope, that's all the links. But as usual, I'll tell you, we're not doctors, therapists, or trained professionals. We're just two people, dealing with our situations. If you need professional help, please seek it. As I've been saying more and more lately, a lot of states have great programs out there to help people get mental health help if they need it. There's a lot of, check with your insurance. If you have insurance, check with it, because a lot of them cover, psychiatrist and psychologist visits. And then, of course, if you're thinking about doing something drastic like suicide, first off, please don't. It's really not the answer. I've been there myself. I know how dark it can be, but, please try to find another way. If you need to, reach out to the suicide hotline number, or, look up suicide prevention online or something, get some help. There's probably local, like if you call 911 and say, hey, I'm thinking of killing myself, I'm pretty sure they send a crew to your house to take you to, the hospital or whatever. So whatever it is that you need to do for help. And again, like I said earlier in the show, also, don't just worry about your mental health, and taking care of your physical health can help with your mental health. So, make sure you kind of round it out. I think that's all I got.
And, on that note, people, if you are contemplating suicide, think of it this way. You didn't commit suicide. You're still thinking. Yeah. So as long as you're still thinking about it, there's other options. Excuse me. There's other ways. There's other options. As long as you have a fleeting thought that maybe I should, then maybe you shouldn't. There's always that maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So make sure that you recognize that fact.
Yeah.
That, if you're even thinking about it, that means that you're questioning it, and that means it's the wrong decision.
Yep.
So, just please, please, please reach out and get help, and don't isolate yourselves. Make sure you surround yourselves with people and things and wonderful stuff. And that's the stuff you need to value, and you need to value yourself.
Yeah.
So that being said, have a great week, everybody. Go out there and claim your wins, and make sure you recognize what you're valuing and what you are putting out there and what you're doing to yourself. So I guess that's it. Have a wonderful week.